Hello and welcome to Unrequested with Rad and Shank. I'm Rad.
What's up, y'all? This Shank.
And so we're back for another episode of this podcast. For this episode, we wanted to kind of talk about something that's near and dear to my heart, to all of us, really. And it won't be the last time we talk about this subject, certainly because it's my area of expertise, and it's just something that is very important, and it's a big thing. What most people do or what they should do, and that is fitness. And so I don't want it to seem like this is just going to be like a whole, like we're going to drop some gems, we're going to try to, but ultimately it's just we're just going to talk about like the fitness journey and just our thoughts on a few things. Like that said, I'm going to kind of lead this off with talking about like how did either of us really find it? I'll start by saying that I've always been active, and I think that goes to my age. I came up in a generation where kids like we are outside. You know, I think I was 8 when the first Nintendo was invented. Like you didn't stay in the house. I mean, the worst punishment you could get when I was a kid was to be grounded. So we were active. We were an active generation. We were riding our bikes. There was kids everywhere. You know, you would go find these kids. Excuse me. Down the street,
a little burpee.
Yeah, yes. I drank a little too much coffee before the podcast. And you would just find random kids that throwing a football around or playing hoops or kicking a can down the street.
Right on the street.
And stickball, all this stuff. So you just played all day until the lights went down, and then you had to be home before the lights went down. But that was easy for me to get into an active lifestyle because I was raised with an active lifestyle. You know, so. There's no like deep story as to what got me into it, and then in high school, like getting into athletics and stuff, and then, you know, of course, becoming an adult, you have a idle phase, right?
Oh yeah,
college and stuff. You know, and then you got to get back into the fitness stage, but it was just never hard. So that said, when did you identify yourself as active, or were you active as a child, or did you become active in high school, or like what was that?
Yeah, for me, man, growing up, you know, in Park Hill, and I just remember, like, to your point earlier, we didn't have like game consoles or anything like that. I mean, we had like, I want to say Nintendo. I remember Sega Genesis. Sega Genesis. Like, man, we had all that, but my mom was big into like getting outside, you know, make some mud pies, go ahead and, stab your knee up a little bit. Yeah. Play in the dirt, which, remember I told you the other day, my nickname when I was growing up was Dusty. And it wasn't because it coincided well with Justin, what it really does if you drop the J and put a D, but it's because I was dirty all the time. I was dirty.
I mean, I don't mean to laugh at that.
Oh my gosh.
Because like kids are cruel, man.
Oh yeah.
Know? And so,
if
you look at it, it's good that you're like, it doesn't bother you.
It doesn't bother me.
You're an adult now, and you're not like, when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And they used to call me Dusty, and I'd cry in my room all alone. Like, you know, it's like it's not a traumatizing story. It's hey man, it's so casual. It's like, you know, when I was a kid, people call me Dusty because I was always dirty.
I
love that it basically it's not a hindrance of at all. It's not, you know, it's not a roadblock. Again, unedited.
That's right.
That's what we do.
That's right.
Roadblock that you had to like overcome. It's like, no, that's just why I was called that.
Yeah. And I see a lot of it in my son, right? Like, he is a busy body, and he'll hit his head a couple times hard, but he'll bounce back. he'll get back to that thing, whatever he's trying to get into. And he's, that boy right there. But yeah, man, growing up when I was a kid, man, it was just, we were always active. We were always outside doing something. I was always dirty, man, you know, and then fast forward to maybe middle school. That's when we started to pick up like athletics. So that's when I started to get involved in football. And you know what, to be quite honest with you, if you would have like met me when I was a kid, you would have probably have identified me. Yeah, he's very passive aggressive. He doesn't like, you know, confrontation or physical altercations or anything like that. I just didn't like it. So when I was playing football in the beginning, when I was growing up, I didn't like contact. I just did not enjoy it. Yeah. But you fast forward to today, I do mixed martial arts.
Yeah, he loves
and I love contact. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So it's just interesting how that changed for me in my life.
Well, passive aggressive it's funny you mention that, and I think it was from the households we grew up in, right? Like heavy disciplined households. So for me, my mom would describe me as passive. I don't know if it was passive aggressive, but I was always I hated confrontation. I always, kept my temper in check. And my dad had this old saying, and he was like, "You don't show your ass in public, boy." And as a kid, I don't know what that means. I thought literally you don't show your ass in public, and
pull your pants up.
Yeah, I was like, what? And then I realized later it was like, no, you just don't act out in public.
Yeah,
my dad's my dad's military, so it was he's very strict on that belief, and so. You kind of understand that you behave in public, and then whatever your issues are, you deal with that stuff on your own, you just swallow it. And so that said, my mom I'd always throw tantrums. I wouldn't always. I would have my meltdowns would be in front of my mom because I felt safe because she was like
she's the nurturer.
Well, no, she was firecracker, man. My mom was like, she was, honestly, she was more when she lost it. She was more aggressive than my dad. My dad was just he was just straight up intimidating, but he didn't stomp us. My mom would just go 0 to 60. But I just felt safer around her, letting her see that side of me whenever I would lose my temper than my dad, right? And not towards her, just outright,
Yeah.
And again, that's because I think I bottled up so much, and you're a kid, you don't know how to deal with all that aggression. Mm-hmm. So staying active helped because, but I didn't do anything with contact. It was like, I think I did soccer, I tried baseball. Then it was just playing outside. I wrestled with my friends and stuff. But and I never did play football. Shockingly, I'm one of those people that came up in where I'm from. Basketball is the sport.
That was the thing.
Yeah. So in Guam, in the Philippines,
can you dunk?
I cannot dunk anymore.
Really?
Well, on a fast break. And I believe that Justin's asking me that question because I'm 6'4".
Yeah.
And it seems as though that's something that a 6'4" guy should be able to do. And I will tell you, in Guam, I was a center at 6'4" because our point guards are like 5'2". Right?
Oh, yeah.
And so here's another thing. We were good enough, and I actually competed in the South Pacific Games in 1996. I just dated myself there.
Yeah.
My senior year, 1996. We won enough games to I was all island. Or we were all island, excuse me, and then we went to instead of all states, all island.
All island.
That's the island life, man. So then we went to Japan to compete in the South Pacific Games, where all these teams from different countries went to Okinawa, and we played against each other. And when I went there, it was kind of the same thing. At 6'4", it was me and this guy. I'll never forget. His name was Jung Kong. And he was a Korean dude, and he was 6'4". He was the same height as me. And we were the centers at 6'4".
Wow.
So I played all through high school as a center or power forward. And I came to the States, and I'm looking to go into college ball, and I'm playing here. And I come to Colorado, and I start playing. And I'm a shooting guard at 6'4".
Yeah.
And everyone's bigger, and I'm bodying them up in the post. I'm trying.
Yeah.
And I had a good footwork. I could get around people. When I was playing in middle school, I hated playing the post game. I was more I liked, because we always played, in the neighborhoods and stuff. We always played 3-on-3. So I was always, or 21. So I was always used to kind of coming from the outside, dribbling in. Yeah. And I had good handles. So that was my game. But when I started playing high school ball, the coaches were like, no, you're forward, you're a center. So they had to teach me how to post up. They had to teach me how to stay there. And I hated it because I could never dribble. Because I had to take the ball and go straight up, and I wasn't used to that. And I used to have this thing where I would have to take one dribble at least before I posted.
Before you post up. Yeah.
And so anyway, they broke me of that. And so obviously playing through high school as a center, I come back here and I don't have the handles I used to have, but I'm too small to be a center or forward against the guys here. And everything just kind of changed. But where I'm from, it's basketball.
Yeah.
You play basketball. Especially, Filipinos, we got the PBA and all that stuff. And actually, that was a thing that my mom actually was like, maybe play for the PBA. I was like, the Filipino Basketball Association, and man, any Filipinos listen, for a fact, hoops is, that's our thing. Kind of like baseball is in Japan.
Yeah.
Football is predominantly, that is an American thing.
Yeah.
And Guam is America, guys, just in case you don't know. So we were in America, but.
Yeah.
So I didn't do aggressive sports, and I did track.
I did track.
And I got gold medaled in track. And so, Yeah, not a lot of contact.
Yeah, man.
But you did football in middle school and high school, or just high school?
Middle school, high school. And then that's where I went off to Tuskegee and tried out there for a little bit. And then I just came back. But yeah, for me, man, I was just exhausted, to be quite honest with you. Even though I was just out there just trying to figure out what I was trying to do with my life. I was still, for some reason, finding myself being active. Yeah. You know, whether it be, you know, lifting with those guys out there or just finding a gym. Like, I was always doing something physical. And I firmly believe that it's, you know, starts with seeing like our parents, you know, whether they are active or not. I know for me, my mom back in her day, she was a big runner. Like, she loved running. And that was her jam. And then for my dad, he came up in football in Texas, and he was really good. Like, I think he was a all-state, like, running back at some point of his career. Like, the dude was good. Grew up on the farm, tossed bales of hay probably. I mean, he was that strong.
Farm strong, yeah.
Yeah, he was farm strong. So, and he did martial arts. He did karate.
So, So that's cool to have that example. I will say, that my parents, and I don't want them to get upset to hear this, but were not active. They were not active in any way. My mom bowled. My mom bowls. My mom's a great bowler. And as I was a kid, I mean, how many people say that? I don't know if I know too many people who are like, my mom's a bowler. I mean, but my mom is a good bowler. Like, we have trophies. My parents have trophies all over in the 80s. I spent a lot of time in bowling alleys, man. I grew up in bowling alleys. My mom, like, it was a passion of hers. But I don't want to get into, like, we're athletes too, you know, professional bowlers. But my parents weren't active. My dad, you know, he always worked 2 jobs. Okay. So my dad was just tired at home
all the time. Yeah.
And that's where my work ethic comes from, is my parents always worked.
Seen them grind.
Either both of them or one of them had 2 jobs. Like, you know, so there was always between 3 and 4 jobs in the household between the 2 of them. So they were not active. So I can't say that I drew any inspiration from them about that. Yeah. But their drive, as far as what they did to provide, that self-discipline, that is what translated into my physical drive. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yep. Yeah. Makes total sense.
So, well, that's cool. That's cool that your parents, like, kept you, like, inspired you in that aspect.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
And as far as going into the whole lifting thing, we've talked about that too, because when we lift, you have this, like, inherent strength. Now, I'm curious because, you know, I even told you one time, I was like, I think you should probably look into maybe doing a powerlifting meet.
I remember that.
You know, because we put all the weights on a barbell. We were doing deadlifts. Remember?
Yeah.
And we got to, I think there's a video online or something. Maybe it's not on my Instagram, but we put all the plates in the gym on, remember?
Yeah. Yep.
And we don't have, guys, you know, it's not like you lifted like 1,000 pounds. It's like, it's my gym. We have a certain amount of plates. Okay?
Yeah. We were limited.
But
we got them all.
I think it was well over 300 pounds. I'm certain of that, because that day you benched 330.
330 that day.
You know? And so, you know, I was just curious. So whenever you lift, I'm like, let's just throw some weights on. Yeah. And you seem to not struggle with it. Yeah. And I never lifted in high school. Yeah. I remember friends who lifted, and I was like a cardio athlete. I was a stick, dude. Like I was 100. I'm 6'4", right? I was 170 pounds all through high school.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. And so, Jennifer just confirmed that the weight that you had deadlift that day was 375.
Oh,
and I think you did. We always do a 6. Here we do a 5 or 6 rep minimum. So we don't do like a 1 rep max here. Because we're not a powerlifting gym or anything like that. But I would imagine if you're doing 375 6 times, and we had done. Remember, we worked a ton of reps up to that.
A couple reps up to that.
If your 1 rep max would probably be pretty high. But so I've always been impressed with your strength. But again, you always tell me that football, man, lifting in high school and all this stuff, and I guess maybe and again I'd have to look up the science on this, but you lifting through puberty, maybe you developed this strength as your bones were growing and you were growing into like your man frame. Right?
I wonder if that's a thing.
I wonder, because I never lifted, and I mean, I'll say in high school, all through high school, I couldn't even do push-ups. I couldn't do pull-ups.
Yeah.
I was like, I was that skinny kid, like that skinny ball player that was like you could see my ribs kind of. That's how skinny I was.
Like he hungry, y'all.
Yeah, man. Like that's was my build.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
But because I was just a conditioned athlete, like, you know, and then we're in Guam and it's like 92 to 98 every day.
Time.
So it's like,
all the time.
And I'm telling you, I could eat 3 pizzas back then and I wouldn't gain a pound. Like I did 0%.
That.
You know, and so, but I think it was because I was, again, consistently active, right?
Yeah.
And I had no responsibilities as far as like, you know, sitting at a desk or anything like that.
Yeah.
Well, I guess in class, but
yeah.
You know, but in JFK where I went to school, there was no air conditioning. So, you know, she's sweating in class. So I think I was just sweating all the time.
Everybody was thin.
Yeah, no, really. Like I think in my high school, I don't remember like too many overweight people. Yeah.
Wow.
Oh man, I lost my train. What was that? I'm getting old. What the hell was I talking about? What were we talking about?
We were talking about strength.
Push-up, strength. Yeah. I think in my head, I switched gears and I was like trying to picture people I went to high school with. And then I forgot what I was talking about. So we had to do like 25 push-ups if we cussed.
Yeah.
And, you know, I played on the courts, like on the street in the neighborhood and all that my whole life. So yeah, we cuss. So whenever I'd cuss during practice, I had to do like, that's why right now in class, I don't allow you guys to cuss during class, right?
Yep.
So I had to do 25 push-ups. And man, the push-ups I used to do, like, no, man, that weird one where your head drops between your shoulders and you can't even get your elbows like to like
doing that.
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
Yeah. It's like an upper body convulsion and
put your chest on the floor,
right,
sir.
You're faking like a push-up, right?
Yeah.
And so that's all the strength I had, right? So when I got older, I was so excited when I could do push-ups because that was, and then I was even more excited when I could do pull-ups because these were things that I just I could never do. And so, yeah, I did not have strength. And even to this day, as big as I am, people look at me and they just assume I'm strong. I'm strong, but I'm not strong. Like I don't throw up big weight. I don't throw up big numbers.
That's so true.
Jennifer and I do CrossFit workouts. We do a lot of Olympic lifting.
Yeah.
You know, but I always joke because I do about barely what like a average CrossFit female could do.
Yeah.
So, like I can do it. I can do squat cleans. I do clean and jerks. I do good snatches, good form.
Oh yeah.
But I don't do heavy weight.
Yeah,
you know?
man.
I mean, it's not that I can't if I wanted to push myself, but first of all, I don't want to injure, and we do a lot of high volume type stuff. So I would do like 60 snatches as opposed to maybe 5 at a very heavy weight.
Yeah.
But when Jennifer and I like watch CrossFit videos or we watch like those CrossFit documentaries that are friggin' awesome, by the way, shout out to the Buttery Bros. They do an amazing job on these documentaries. I love all your documentaries if you ever hear this.
Yes, sir.
But like I look at what the women throw up, CrossFit, but of course they're athletes in that sport.
Yeah.
But I laugh because I'm like, man, I'm not even close to their numbers, and that's like their warm up weights.
Oh my gosh, man!
You know,
but that proves how difficult that is.
It is very difficult.
It's very difficult. It's a challenge, and for me, man, like the grit comes from when you're in the gym and you have to lift for football. I mean, that's part of just what we do, and football is lift and you hit the pads and you go out there and that's it. But yeah, man, we would be like in there just sweating it out together and
the weight rooms
each other
in football, like high schools, or at least ours. Those were dungeons, man.
Oh yeah, they were dungeons.
Those were not
That's right.
Like I see high schools have nice gyms now.
Yeah.
Like those were like rusted plates and
and
it's like things are piled up and stacked next to each other.
And it's hot and it's in the basement.
Yeah. And what was that like? Like what was that air?
Oh my gosh,
that atmosphere.
man.
What was that like
It was a grind. I mean, everyone was passionate about it. So even though we were in high school, we had this like level of maturity knowing that this is our responsibility to take care of our bodies and the coaches can only do so much for us. So we got to get in here and do what we need to do at this time. And you could just hear, I mean, you know me, man. It started from football, man, doing weightlifting. We would encourage each other, yell at each other.
Right.
Come on, you can do this, challenge each other, man. It was that. It would be hot too.
Speaking about yelling at each other, like you're infamous for making some very odd sounds.
Oh yeah,
when you lift, right?
Yeah.
But what I try to tell people, like they don't make enough noise. Like in class the other day, you were making you were making all those weird sounds.
Oh yeah.
When you were kicking, and then people started making weird sounds.
They jumped right on in
as a joke. But I was explaining. I was like, guys, like when you need to get loud. So you hear me say that to the class. I'm like, get loud. For me, I come from that where it's like our lions roar, like let that energy out. Yeah. When people, it's funny when they hold their breath when they're either lifting or they're striking or something, and it's like, you know, it's like
don't get hemorrhoid.
Yeah, don't. It's like, why are you holding that energy in? For me, sometimes I explain to people the reason I get loud is I'm screaming through the pain. Yeah. Like when I yell, I don't feel the pain of it, and then of course there's the mental aspect, right? You're like, you know, you feel strong.
You do.
So then I would say think strong, so get loud for me. And it goes back to, like I said, I didn't lift in high school, but yeah, I remember those guys, and like, just tell me if this is wrong. You know, you're in your basketball shorts, you know, the scrawny guys, you know, or some big guys, beefy guys, you know, you take your shirts off, you know, because it's not a 24-hour fitness, you know, it's a basement gym, so everyone's got their shirts off and they're slapping each other on the chest, right? It's all meathead workouts, like, let's go, baby, smack, you know. And I hated that. The few times I worked out with people like that, I was like, ow.
Yeah. Like, hey, you coming in hot, bro. I'm going to put your shirt back on.
Just spot me, bro. Yeah. Like, why are you slapping my nipples? Like,
plus I don't want to like lay down on a bench where his sweat is like all on. Then I got to wipe it down. Right. Or get a special towel.
Right.
Cover it up.
Did you have sessions like that?
No, actually, coach didn't allow us to have our shirts off.
Oh, okay.
Oh, no.
Well, I think it was because the players, when they could lift any time of the day, so they'd go in on their own. Like after practice or...
So we would do that. Okay. Yeah,
but those were the sessions where... Those were, like you know, maybe not shirtless, but you have like your little white tank top on.
Oh, yeah.
And like, you know, and it's everyone just looked funny to me because they were like, I don't know. It's just, it was seriously like meathead session. Right?
Oh, yeah, it was.
Nothing wrong with that if that gets you there, if that's what you need.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I need though, man. Yeah. Just like when we were doing it in class, you know, when I was yelling, I have to get it out. Yeah. That's just how I am. But hey, that also tells me like I'm breathing through the workout. Exactly. Because I do catch myself from time to time, like not breathing through punches or kicks or knees. And then I start to feel my energy, and I just have to like catch my breath a little bit more. And then I'm like, wait a minute, I'm not breathing. Yep. But I'm able to catch it quick though.
Yeah. I have so many clients that hold their breath, and you can see it.
Oh,
when they're lifting something, you know, and I think it's a natural thing to think that you have to hold and push. You know, I don't know why that's our natural reaction. Yeah,
probably. Yeah.
But it seems to be like a human thing. Like everyone does it. Like you'll hear me say to new clients, and I'm like, it's totally normal.
Yeah.
Because when I tell them doing something wrong, there's this weird sinking that happens in a person like, oh, I suck at this. It's like, why do people always have to feel like they immediately suck at something just because they did one thing? Like, I have to remind people, look, you're new at this.
Yeah, you're new at it.
Everything. And you know, several times, like, guys, it's okay. Like, make the mistakes. Or I always say, be comfortable with being uncomfortable. Yeah. You know, soon the uncomfortable will become comfortable. Yeah. But no one, I think, and this is a sidebar, but people have got this fast food nation. People have gotten to this thing where they think that when they try something, they need to be immediately good at it, or they should just do something else. And it's so funny because we were on the last episode, we were talking about the LSTAT where you were like, I'm either good at this or I'm not. So I read one page. Nope. Moving on.
Ready.
But I think again, I'm going to say that I'm not comparing you to that because that was something where you were just testing the waters. Right?
Yeah, that's right.
And, okay, so we just had a fact check here. This was just handed to me. Why we hold our breath when we do tense movements, especially exercising, working out? Holding your breath increases intra-abdominal pressure, giving strength and stability to the torso. Stress and tension makes the diaphragm and other muscles associated with breathing become rigid.
Really?
Okay. Now, I will say, listen, there is a time for that. Okay. Yeah. Now, when you learn how to squat or deadlift, right? You're taught to do that to brace your core. Yeah. Okay. So if you if you lift and you do squats, you're supposed to draw in a deep breath, lock it, and then that basically locks in your core and your ribs so that you don't sink or anything, and then you go through the squat movement, right? And that just, again, to that point, makes your abdominal muscle, everything rigid and tight. Yeah. But everything else, like, you're supposed to breathe in and then breathe out on the push. So I tell people on the pull, breathe in. So there are times for that, right?
Yeah.
But not always. I would say I would only have a client do that when they're in those types of compound lifts.
Right.
I would not tell someone who's like doing a chest press or I don't know, any other movement, bicep curls, like that doesn't, why do I need my core rigid right now? Like, you should already at that point know how to brace your core.
Oh yeah.
Okay. But I'm glad that actually with that. Thank you for the fact check there.
All right, Nessa.
But, I just think that going back to that subject, we need to be willing to like be awkward at things.
Yeah.
Be awkward. Because no one, look, I think not everyone, I think a majority of people think, and I've made this mistake, like you just assume you're going to be a natural, or you weren't really so passionate about it. You were like, I'm going to try it, and if I'm a natural, then I'll take this up. And I've done that with a few hobbies where I'm like, I'll try this, and if I'm good at it, but then I had to teach myself that, no, I'll try this, and if I like it, regardless if I'm good at it, I will work at becoming good at it. Yeah. Right? But I don't have to be good at it up front. And so it doesn't happen all the time, but there's these times where I'm just like, hey, it's okay. You're not going to get all this. Like the frustration I see, it's like, hey, whoa. I was like, if I could teach this to you in a weekend, I wouldn't be in business.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
I say that all the time. I'm like, so, this takes years to help people. I've been teaching 10 years and I'm like, and I still don't have it figured out. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So, man, be okay with that.
Yeah. And also I think it's a mentality shift. You know what I mean? Like you have to be mentally strong to push through exercises, but to remain consistent. I think that's absolutely critical because for me, it's those lonely moments. I can get to the gym, but it's continuing it, making sure I'm consecutive and continuing to show up and stretch. Because there'll be times, man, I'm not going to lie, like my life has changed. I'm married. I have a 19-month-old son and I'm working full time and giving my energy towards my family. Right. And it's like, at the end of the day, I'm exhausted. So it's pushing through those moments right there. That's, I think, and I know there's a pocket of people that knows what I'm talking about. Where you're going through and you got to push through that.
I think it's a majority of the people that use those things as a reason not to be active, right?
Very true.
Where am I going to find the time? I have this, I have that. Yeah. Listen, I've worked 2 jobs minimum for how long, Jennifer? Since like 15 years? Yeah. Right? I've always had 2 jobs. Yeah. Fortunately, I fell into a situation 10 years ago where the second job was a passion thing where I was teaching at a gym. So that was not as much work as it was fun and getting paid for it, right? Yeah. I mean, any job has stress, right? Yeah. But anyway, I always made the time. It just was not an option not to, right? When Nessa was born, it became, okay, we have a newborn, like, how am I going to get my workouts in? And I actually got pudgy for a little bit after she was initially born. And what I had to do there was I had to start getting up at 2:00 in the morning. You remember this? And I'd get to the 24-hour fitness at 3 and I'd work out to get to work by 6 because I work 6 to 2. Yeah. So I remember, and I did that all through her infancy just so I could come home because I wasn't able to do what I used to do where I would get off work and go work out. So, but that was me adjusting to make sure that time was always made. I'm a no excuses kind of person. And that's just something I've always said. No excuses, right? Yeah. If it's important to you, you will make the time.
Oh, absolutely.
And so I tell people, listen, if your family cannot support you or your friends or whoever for 1 hour a day, right? Yeah. You got the wrong circle. Yeah. Right. There's people come in here and they're like, well, so-and-so's getting mad that I'm always here. I'm like, well, why are they mad? Like you're not gambling. You're not going to a bar after work. Yeah. You're going to work out. You're going to learn martial arts. Like, how is that?
You're coming to the gym, Billy.
Like, you're working to better yourself so you go home a happier person. Yeah. So to me, that is selfishness on the other person's part.
Absolutely.
Or resentment because they don't have it. Yeah. They don't have something for themselves. Yeah. Or just lack of understanding or lack of a willingness to understand, right?
Yeah, to support that.
So, so really, can you not support your partner to give them an hour? Yeah. And I get that from clients. Like, I just don't have time. Like, I mean, do you not have the time, or you're not willing to find the time?
Find the time.
Right?
That's right.
Or not willing to have a hard discussion with your partner to allow them to give you the time.
Yeah.
I mean, an hour and a half a day.
I know. My wife is so supportive of me training because she knows this is my passion. She knows I get in these little funky moods when I don't train. It's something about it where I need just a natural release of just
you need an outlet.
Literally
you need an outlet.
Energy dumping everything from the day, from the week, you know, whatever situation we may come across, whatever the case may be. Like, but I need this, and she understands it. She respects it. She supports it. She even challenges me and checks on me like, should you be eating that? Now you know you got to test.
Right.
How's your kata doing? How many push-ups were you at? Let me go ahead and see it real quick. Like she does these things. And
that's beautiful, man.
Oh man, it's a beautiful thing. And so it takes the stress off of me because now I can actually come to the gym fully 100% me, being able to really focus in on my training. I tell you what, man, like pre-quarantine and all this stuff, I don't know if I appreciated it, to be quite honest with you. I don't know if I really appreciated the training and the value and the time that you're putting in us. But then after we had COVID and quarantine and we're shut down, I was like, oh my gosh. It was like I neglected the training that I had before, and now now in COVID, we're locked in. I missed it. Yeah. So then once we had the chance, and then Rad started opening up the gym in phases, I think I probably missed maybe 4 days.
Oh yeah, you have not. Yeah,
I haven't missed a day, and it's a different mentality for me because we don't know how long this situation is going to happen, but also B, my dad was a product of martial arts, and he did his thing, and I'm following that same passion, and I don't know if it's gonna, we just don't know how the world state is gonna be. So I'm treating every training session like it's like this is about to be the last week. So that's why I come in here and I go so hard in the paint. I do every day,
and you do, and it's so funny because the fear was that everyone and people adjusted. And so a lot of people started training at home, and they fell in love with it. And I was on all these forums and looking at comments and videos, and people were like, I'll never go back to the gym. I love my new home gym, and home gym businesses have blown up. Like everyone's sold out of everything. You can't get a dumbbell. And then some guy who's trying to sell like a 20-pound dumbbell for $100. It's like, what the hell? Come on, man. Like, man. And that's where actually I started getting back into my like body weight training, and I started wearing a weighted vest and doing that kind of stuff. But anyway, people were just certain that the gyms were just going to fail. And then of course gyms started going bankrupt, but that was because those chains were cash poor. Like that's their internal stuff. Like they weren't in a position. They weren't in a position to endure a few months of being closed. So that just means you weren't, like everyone thought the ride would never end, right? You didn't plan for like any contingencies in that sense. But that's from a business perspective, what that is debt. And to have debt is to be rich. Yeah. That is the new mindset where these gyms are like, any money we make, we invest in new locations. And I read this about 24 is why they didn't have so much money, is because every time they made money, they reinvested into expanding the brand, right? And opening more locations. Because the more debts, the more write-offs, and then less taxes. And then, of course, you just look more rich because you have more assets. Yeah. But you have no cash.
Got it.
Right?
Got it.
So anything that happens, now you got to close a bunch of locations to find cash. Yeah. So it's a weird economic thing. But anyway, I digress. So the people were certain, I'm never going back to gym. I love my gym garage, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And many of them did because they pivoted. They had to figure it out. Yeah. Now the gyms are open, and I knew they'd be back. Oh, and I knew because on the other side of it, you have the people who, oh my God, I miss training, or I've always wanted to try this. We had a nice spike in June, and all these people who've always wanted to try it were like, I'm trying it because
I'm doing it.
And so that was a good outcome because like any other small business, we took a hit, man. Like, and I'm grateful. And shout outs to every member who took care of us. Like we had members who, maintained. I mean, we provided virtual content, but members paid their memberships to keep us going. Oh yeah, to take care of us as a small business, and we're forever grateful to those people to this day. Yeah, and that's the community we have built. But that said, with that said, then we had a whole bunch of new people come in and add to our community,
man.
right?
It's awesome.
And so that to your point, like people missed it who weren't able to do it, and then people who always considered doing it decided now's the time to do it.
Now's the time to do it.
Right?
Yeah.
So I mean that's awesome. Man.
It's a different why.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
yeah.
saying?
Oh, that's a good point.
You know, my why was originally, that's kind of my passion. I've been doing it ever since 2010, and then my why kind of changed a little bit different to just focusing on school and education. And then so like what you said earlier, the fitness journey, it literally is a journey.
It is a journey.
Because then after, me focusing on school and then shifting into being much more like getting into the profession, it's like, okay, now I can actually go to the gym now. You know what I mean? I can actually go ahead and train after work or things like that. And now my why, it's just been hyper speeded because not only I had lost my father from type 2 diabetes. That was a tough time for me and my family because he was we had a relationship, after he came back in our life. I think I was like 11 or 12, but I knew there was some family dynamics going on. But my mom definitely wore both pants and took care of us the best she could, and I always recognized that. And yeah, my dad, he did martial arts and all of that stuff, and he was the one that kind of would show me and my brother Jason certain things, and kumacha and all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? So, but now as and I have a son, and knowing that I have to be an example for him,
right?
That's absolutely critical, and I have to be able to show him that I can absolutely be the best example that I can be for you.
Right.
And if it's through fitness and all of those things like that, and bringing him to the gym, like I'm going to start bringing him to the gym again because Angie's going back to school.
Yep.
But
he grew up
surrounding him around this stuff. And you see him doing things today. Like he'll go and hit the bag and he'll make a, so.
Well, and on the subject of the journey, like that is one of my favorite quotes. And I say it all the time, like fitness is a journey, not a destination.
Yeah.
Right? I think about one of Kevin Hart's stand-up. He said when he was at the gym, he saw like the super ripped, like total bodybuilder, like Adonis. And he was like, dude, why are you here?
Yeah.
You won.
Yeah.
You won. Why are you here? And I was like,
look at those veins.
It's like whatever the competition, like you won. Like so I was cracking up because it is like you assume like, well, why do you have to work? Why do people who don't understand the passion for it? Like, well, what? I don't get it. Like, guys, you can't look at it as a means to an end.
Yeah.
Right? You have to look at it. You have to love it. Right.
Yeah, you do.
Because if you look at it as a means to an end, then you're just doing it to get the end, right? So then there's people like that. I hate working out, I hate dieting, but I lost 40 pounds, so I'm just doing it because I want to get to this size or whatever the why is, right?
Yeah.
But that's a bad way to go about it because you're not enjoying it, and if you don't learn to enjoy it, then it just becomes a task. Add it to your task like going to work.
Yeah.
And what happens with tasks that you don't enjoy? You start calling out for work.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I was talking the other day about how Jennifer and I were joking the other day about when we were working for our previous company.
Yeah.
For the longest time, we loved it there. And then things started to get changed and get a little difficult. And I started to dread going to work. And I started to call in when I felt fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we would always joke. We were like, well, we'd go to work sick because I was like saving my sick days for when I felt better.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I think you have to, if you don't learn to fall in love with training, you need to find a type of training that you can fall in love with.
Yeah.
Right? And then that'll keep you active. Because now it's not about a task that has to be completed. It's I love doing it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep. Not only love doing it, but also helping others too.
Yeah.
I love being able to like pair up with, someone that's new or whatever the case may be. I love trying to just I love making sure that they feel welcomed and that, no matter who you're with or rank, I'm coming to your level. Like we've had a couple, and I know you do that intentionally. Because I'm that guy. I'll take care of them, but I love doing that.
The rule is like any higher ranked student has to go help.
Yeah.
Like, because part of being a martial artist as you get up to like level 3 and whatnot, or just higher rankings and stuff, you have to be a mentor. That has to be part of it. And Jeff just got his black red, and he had to write me a document only at that level, and explain to me what being a mentor means.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, and I don't know, people are, well, that's not my responsibility. Well, as far as I'm concerned, it is.
Yeah, it is.
It is. As a leader in that community, this community, do you feel that you don't have to contribute to the community?
Right.
Right.
And it's natural, right? Because there'll be situations where we won't do pad work. We'll be, having a fitness challenge, 100 burpees, 80 sit-ups. Like, I love when you do stuff like that, because as soon as I'm done, it's just a natural thing for me to look around to see who's struggling or who's just killing it. Yeah. Where can I put my energy towards, because I'm done, but I need to help somebody else. Yeah. Like, I'll go pop over there and be like, man, let's go. How many you got? I'm right here with you. Let's do this.
And that's what's good, is like to lift others up and to have people to root for you, because it was hard enough for you to kind of start the journey, right? Yeah. And for whatever was holding you back, which sometimes I'm shocked at what people tell me about the lack of support that they get. And so it's hard enough to motivate yourself, but now you have to go against people who are rooting against you that should be rooting for you. And that, you know what I mean? And it's like, I always have to tell people, listen, it doesn't matter if they understand it. It's not, that's not for them. It's for you, right? That's
right.
But I kind of want to turn it over to Jennifer. Like, my wife's in the studio, and I want to talk to Jennifer because Jennifer comes from a person. Jennifer has basically recently found herself, but she came from basically being an inactive person to an active person, lost a bunch of weight, and then she went through some phases and had some tragedy and went through some phases, and then grew to truly hate working out, not understanding the appeal of it. Even though I was a trainer and owned a gym and all that stuff, she just couldn't pull herself up to that. And I put a lot of pressure on her at times, which I decided to reel back years ago, because I thought, okay, well, I'm just setting too high of a bar, or I'm pushing too hard. I'll just let her find her way to it on her own, because it's just creating too much turmoil in our relationship. And then of course, recently, a couple years ago, she found her way, and now she's if you don't know who my wife is, get on Instagram right now. Ooh. And at Jenny X Bells. Yeah, and check that out, because she is reformed, reborn, and just killing the game. And she's already lost 80 pounds, but she's just her life has turned around, but she is obsessed with it now. So how do you go from someone who really why didn't you enjoy it back then? What did you not like about it? And then how did you grow to really fall in love with it?
I think you had touched on it a little bit when you were talking about, and I had the perfect words for it, but just because I don't think I'm obsessed with it. I think I'm passionate about it.
Passionate, yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And just when you touched on it, talking about how we're impatient because you don't see results, or you don't master it immediately. That I think once I understood that it wasn't going to happen immediately, and I needed to be patient and make note of all of my accomplishments as I progressed, then I was able to set smaller goals and celebrate those goals as I achieved them. And now, I'm not passionate about martial arts, but I'm passionate about lifting weights and doing CrossFit exercises, and those are really fun to me. So it's just finding what you're passionate about and what you enjoy.
Yeah.
But to your point, what made you successful was celebrating the small victories along the way. I think the failure a lot of the time is somebody goes on a crash diet. They lose 20 pounds in 1 week or 2 weeks, and they think that is how it's going to continue to happen. And that's number one, it's just unhealthy, but it's unheard of. It's, of course, you shock your body. It's going to have a drastic reaction.
Yeah.
But from there, you need to be okay with 2 pounds a week, if that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And you stress your body out.
Yeah.
By being so hard on it and losing 20 pounds or flushing a whole bunch of water out of your system, and you think, oh, this is going to continue to happen this way, and then it doesn't, so you get discouraged, and you try to find immediate satisfaction, and sometimes that's having a big bowl of ice cream and watching a whole Netflix series.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Then you feel guilty, and then you gained a pound back, and you're like, this is not worth it. And so that's what happens. It's not worth it, and so you stop.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think? In the industry, we have a term: New Year's resolution crowd.
Oh yeah,
like,
we
that
do.
That is the busiest, and everyone knows. You all go to the gym on the first of the year, and it's packed, and you're waiting for a treadmill.
Yeah,
that is a natural thing, and it's because everyone, they start and they stop. So there's a spike in the industry from January to March.
Yeah.
And then it dies out again, and it picks back up in the summer, and then it dies again. It's just one of those things where it's like, again, if there's not immediate satisfaction, or you don't get there fast enough, like it took Jennifer a year to lose the full 80. And then from there, it was like another year of like getting stronger. Then it became, okay, what new goals do we set? Then it was a matter of PRs. Like, okay, can you go, what's the current weight you're snatching? Okay, now what can we, like, let's go up 5 pounds on that. Then it became, recently she was like, my legs, she lost all this weight, and she's like, wow, my legs are a little skinny. I want to build up my quads. So I tailored her workout to quad specific training, leg training. And then she added an inch and a half to her quads. Now it's like, okay, I want to tone up my arms. Okay. So we added accessory, upper body workouts. And so just tweaking and just, meeting her needs as far as the different goals that she's setting.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Now with what we do, as far as the martial arts training and all that stuff, it's really just, staying in shape to keep up with the training, right?
Yeah.
Setting goals as far as, like, today I had a client, a friend of ours, Craig, and he was, he sparred with me on Thursday, and he wanted to speak to me about like what was wrong with what he was doing and why was he getting caught so much, and like, and then he was sparring Coach Jeff, and he identified the issues he had there, and so I was like, okay, good, he's paying attention, and he wants to solve the puzzle. Well, here's what you should work on, and then we did a whole session where we worked on these little things.
Yeah.
And so that's him learning.
Yeah.
And then when he learns that, we will figure out what he learned, and we'll put an end to that. And then he'll have to find something new. And like I said, we keep leveling up, because whatever I'm doing now, if you train hard enough, you pay attention, and you keep, drilling your skills, right? Then you will come up to that level. And now my little thing, that doesn't work anymore. So now I got to find something new. So then we just keep elevating each other.
Yeah.
And so we don't have to search for goals. As far as that goes, if the community is right, the class is right, and you're paying attention, I would say if you're paying attention, you don't, you'll just excel on, you'll continue to just grow along with everyone else, right?
Oh yeah.
And when you say take time off, you know what it's like when you take a few weeks off, or I just can't go to class for a while, and you come back and suddenly the guys that were like standing next to you in line have like leapfrogged you, and now they're putting it on you. You're like, what happened?
What?
Like,
you changed.
Yeah. And so I never liked that. I never took time. I just hated coming back, and they learned something that I didn't know.
Yeah.
So,
man.
and you can call that competitive. I don't know if it's competitive. I wouldn't call it that. I think I'm sort of competitive with them, but ultimately competitive with myself. I just wanted to make sure that I was at a specific level.
Yeah.
And taking time away allowed. And not that I don't know if my level dropped, but of course your level does drop. If you're not training, speed drops, athleticism drops, strength drops, whatever. But technique wise, you still have those techniques, but they're not as sharp as they were.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And so someone else is still consistently sharpening their weapons and finding new weapons while you're like, oh, I just needed to take some time for myself. Look, if you need to reset, that's fine. I'm just saying, that's why I don't take time off. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Man, my journey right now, it's detail. Like I'm like all about, I have like running goals.
Yeah.
I just make sure I'm staying consistent. A, which is showing up. B, paying attention, being respectful, taking care of, my fellow martial artists, all that stuff. And then the second thing is detail. I'm actually spending time trying to figure out ways to tweak and turn my hip and my foot at the same time I go for an uppercutter. And I literally am focusing on every intentionality, opening up my hips, because you guys know I'm an old man down below.
No,
we talked about
there's
that.
just a lot going on down below. It's like, you got.
But it's details
stuff you're working through down there.
it's I got to figure it out, man. But it's the details, man. And for me, I just got to make sure I continue to push through.
Well, and I want to talk about another thing is like you mentioned recently, like, and okay, you're African American, or black. Like Jennifer asked me recently, like, how do I identify like black? Or I'll take either one.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll just say black.
Yeah.
Right? We're both black. That's how I'm identifying today.
It took a while to get to that.
Well, here's the thing. I got into a debate with someone recently about Kamala Harris, and I don't want to talk politics. I keep saying that. I keep bringing up politics.
Yeah.
And they were trying to say like, she's mixed, and how can she they were trying to argue that she shouldn't identify as African American. I'm like, listen, man, you don't tell a mixed race person how they can identify.
Yeah,
right?
you don't do that.
I identify as black, and I identify as Filipino.
Yeah.
You don't get to tell me how I can identify, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, that said, Jeff has brought this up a few times. In our community, you don't have a lot of people doing Muay Thai or Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It's so grown. True. It's grown for sure.
Yeah.
But our community, we have to build a stronger fitness footprint for our community.
Yeah.
Right? And Jeff was like, dude, you do so much for our community. He always points out that a majority of the time I have the most black students.
Yeah, you do.
And he's like, it's the vibe that you have, and it's the energy. And he's like, and he always says, and I just don't pay attention because I take everyone. Right? Of course, I'm not that I'm taking, but I'm about like teaching, and I love the diversity of our community, and I focus on the diversity of the community. But Jeff's always pointing that out. Jeff's heavy into that as far as like making sure that our community is living a fitter lifestyle, the black community.
Yeah.
And so he points that out to me a lot, and he's like, I really respect what you do for the black community, and I never see it that way.
Yeah.
That said, you have kind of pointed it out to some of your brothers, your fraternity brothers. You want to shout out to your fraternity?
Yeah, Alpha Phi Fraternity Incorporated. What it do?
Yeah, and your fraternity brothers and some of your best friends.
Yeah.
And they're like, life is hard, man. One of your friends in particular.
Yeah.
We won't say his name because we don't want to talk about but he was dealing with some stuff, and you were like, hey, man, try Muay Thai.
Yeah.
And I will guarantee you.
Yeah.
That guy has never once had that type of recommendation.
No.
Like, what brother has he been hanging around with that was like, listen, man, if you don't know what's up with Muay Thai, man, you need to get that in your life.
You need to go and do that.
I guarantee that that's just not something he has been told in his life, right?
No, not at all.
And to know that, like, you're kind of spreading that. You're like, hey, man, listen, life's hard. We're dealing with all these stresses.
Yeah.
Like, why don't you try Muay Thai? You
Yeah.
remember you telling me?
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah.
He was like, he started doing Muay Thai.
Yeah.
To where he hit me up on Instagram and said, hey, man, can you do a video on how to do this during quarantine? I'm trying to work on my low kicks. Can you do a video on that?
Yep.
And let me say something real quick. The reason I don't post, if you go on my YouTube, I have a decent following, but my YouTube videos are more about fitness. And I kind of joke, and people are like, why don't you do more striking content? I'm like, I don't give away striking content because that's what the people who come to my gym pay for.
Exactly.
And I don't know if that sounds jacked up, but maybe down the line, there's a few, but I don't do heavy content on striking because or martial arts and thing because that's for my students.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's what they come here for, and they should be able to get that. But side note, anyway.
Yeah.
So I did a video for him, and he was grateful. And then he started tagging other people, and I think you've told some of your other brothers to get into Muay Thai. And again, it's just not something generally recommended to the black community.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And I think that's awesome, and because it's growing awareness of that.
It is,
right? And you want to expand on that a little bit?
Oh my gosh, yeah, man. Because I realize growing up, even just being African American in America, it's hard, and you have to go through these situations, whether it's conscious or unconscious bias towards you, and just by the color of your skin. And so there's already like this like chip on the black community's shoulder. There's this anger, but where's the outlet? Like, what do I do?
And primarily, what are we told? Like sports.
Sports.
That seems to be like our only outlet,
Get
right?
in sports.
But why does that have to be the only outlet?
Exactly.
Can I touch on why? We can't afford martial arts. Coming up, a lot of us can afford it.
That's exactly true.
That came up recently in CrossFit.
Yeah.
They say, well, why don't we have a diverse environment in CrossFit? And they said, well, we don't have CrossFit gyms in those communities. CrossFit's $180 a month. Mm-hmm. You're not going to find, pay that kind of money to go to a CrossFit gym.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So what has become big in the black community? Calisthenics. You see all the bartenders and those guys in New York, and they're working. I mean, they're finding ways to be creative with fitness. And come on, guys. I'm not trying to say blanket statement. The black community is poor, but a majority of our community doesn't have the extra funds for the extracurriculars of that nature, right? Yeah. So we do what we can within school and all that stuff. But coming up, I couldn't do martial arts because my parents couldn't afford it.
Yeah, that's right.
My friends would do martial arts, and I'd be like, I'd do a free class and be so excited. And I'd have my friends, when they could go, they would show me what they were learning.
Yeah, I remember.
And I always wanted to do martial arts, but could not afford it. My parents could not afford martial arts.
Yeah.
And so I couldn't do it till I was an adult, where I could afford it for myself, right? So I'm sorry for jumping in there, but that's kind of why I feel that. And then Craig was talking about, like, in our community, like where he grew up and where I grew up as a kid, and when I lived in Louisiana, it's like he was saying how we don't even have like a Walgreens or Sprouts or Whole Foods.
Yeah.
Like some neighborhoods, he was like, you had a corner store.
Yeah.
And so that was the option, right?
Oh yeah.
And so following along that path that Craig and I were talking about, is like, you don't have a lot of martial arts schools in our communities, right? And it's probably because people can't afford it. So it's just, anyway, that it's just something that is just not prevalent, or like your first few options that you would consider, given where you might be growing up.
Oh yeah.
Now take black community out of it. It could be a Latino community. It could be a white community. I don't care. Let's just say you can't afford it. Yeah. Right. So it just doesn't become something that you think is an option for you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Oh, no doubt. No doubt. And seeing like that alone, in that just whole scenario, specifically focusing on the black community, there's this like aggression that was worn, because, you had this level of anger, but, you would look at each other, a black man to another black man, and just be this aggression. And it's because it's this nakedness. It's this, ability to, be self-aware of, can I protect myself? So there's this external hard shell already kind of being,
and that could just be men in general. Like,
it could just be men in general, but there's like this hardness in the black community. And so, you fast forward into, seeing your gym grow and seeing, African Americans coming in. It's a beautiful thing, man, because when I see somebody, and it's not to say I don't treat everybody the same. I mean,
you treat everybody the same.
I treat everybody the
absolutely,
same.
Yeah.
But when I do that with someone that's, black, they think like I'm just being that super, but it's actually, I'm just being who I am.
Right.
But I just love connecting and just be like, and I talk to them, man, like, what's your name, man? I'm Justin, man. What's going on? Like, have you trained before? And I would just take him through, even, like with our other boy that came back from quarantine, lost a bunch of weight. Looking amazing. And I just been making sure I've been intentional with him and feeding into him too.
But outside of the gym, your recommendations to your friends, like what's feeding that? Like when they're stressed in their life and they're like, man, I just don't know what to do. Have you tried Muay Thai? Like what's feeding your need, or your instinct to just give them that?
My gosh, because I see what it's done for me.
Okay,
like when I mentioned earlier with my wife being so supportive, allowing me this space, and when I don't get to train, I do get in like a funky mood for some reason, and it's not trying to be intentional or about something specific. It's just I just don't feel myself, and so going through like tough situations or having just a tough day, and then next thing you know, you go to the gym and then you do this adrenaline dump on the mats and this energy dump, and then I go back home and I feel great. Man, why not? Well, if I hear my boy stressing out, I'm like, man, this is what I do.
Well, and why not something they've never heard of?
Yeah.
Like, you know how many times, like, no one knows what I teach. They're like, what is Muay Thai? What is that? And sometimes I have to dumb it down and just say kickboxing. They're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then it becomes like cardio kickboxing. And I'm like, well, yes, I teach cardio kickboxing too, but anyway, it's just like martial arts. And it's cool because it's an option that, again, they never would have considered. They never would have typed in Muay Thai into Google until you said that word to them. Yeah. You get what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
So I think it's so cool because it gives, again, an option that maybe never would have been considered.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's a different type. Like, if you just say, why don't you try martial arts? I guarantee the first thing they picture is like a karate uniform. Yeah. And they're like, nah, man. Like, they just, and there's there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
that martial art or martial art, any type of martial art, kung fu, whatever. Okay. But it's just like, I think that a grown man just doesn't see himself doing that, right?
Yeah.
But they don't understand what Muay Thai is.
I think it's become more popular due to UFC.
Yeah, like MMA.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's a little more known, but it's still less known.
It is.
Like, I guarantee you will find more people who know what MMA is than Muay Thai, right?
Yeah.
And so sometimes I do say that because I do teach Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu as well. So we are mixed martial artists, right? And
absolutely.
I don't teach mixed martial arts anymore. I've left that realm, and I focused on two specific disciplines, Muay Thai. Our Muay Thai, we teach boxing and all that stuff, but striking and grappling. Okay.
Yeah.
I just don't refer to our gym as an MMA gym because I don't put that out there. Right?
Yeah.
But we are, if you think about it, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, I think it's great that you're kind of bringing awareness to people. Like, these are other options you have, man. It's not just go bang some weights and you have these options. And this, to your point, it's done this for me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
yep.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's ultimately.
It's been an hour.
Yeah, it's been an hour, guys.
Oh my gosh.
And not as goofy as usual, but like I said, this is kind of like
Jen's like, wrap it up.
Yeah, this is a big subject. And again, I know it got, we had a lot of I think this was more of where we offer like insight or advice or, I always say my 2 cents, you can take it or, just knock it off the table. Like, I don't need your 2 cents. Right.
How much for one red?
Right. Yeah. Wrong red. Two. How much I get for a nickel? But the reason this was like we didn't goof as much on this one because it's a serious subject for us and we're very passionate about it.
Yeah.
And so there's going to be podcasts where it's a little more about giving you information and our perspective on that information, and you could take it or leave it. And this, we won't be as goofy with it. Sometimes we're just talking about it, but sometimes this podcast is about having a conversation with one of my best friends. My wife listens in.
Yeah.
And that said, sometimes that conversation is a little more serious, just like any conversation you have with people. And not that this wasn't like deadly serious conversation, but it was a little more in depth, right?
Yeah.
So that said, we are hitting our hour here. So we're going to go finish up. And my last thing is, guys, if you're not active, get active. Figure out a way to do it. Right? It doesn't have to be the general idea of fitness, just going to a gym. Because again, I will tell you that the stress of that is not in like one of the stresses Jennifer didn't touch on that she tells other people is that when you don't know what you're doing and you're spending hours in the gym, you're kind of just fumbling around trying to figure it out, getting on machines, but you don't know what that's doing for you. And it just gets boring.
Yeah.
You don't have anyone to guide you.
Yeah.
So if that's the path you want to take, then get a good trainer. Okay. And now that said, let's talk about today's sponsor. Me. I am going to sponsor this podcast. I have a training app. Go to www.radbod.info. I do have a few slots of online training available. You do not have to live in Colorado, but if you are in Colorado, we'd love to see you at our gym, Rad Muay Thai Fitness. The website for that is radmtfitness.com. And so that was a perfect time for me to segue into a plug.
I love it. Pluggy plug.
Considering that, we produce this, and I get to throw plugs in when I want. I get to sponsor our podcast from time to time.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I just burped. And did it smell like last night?
No. Wait, did it smell last night?
Smell like last night's rice and
last night's dinner.
Which I may tell them about the Cajun rice.
Oh my gosh!
I put my foot in that, man.
Bomb.
That's just one of my signature dishes, and I'm telling you, I put my ankles in it.
Yeah, I was lingering around the oven intentionally. I was like, man, what does chips and dips look like this when you're in there? Get a little chip. Start dipping it in there. Are you seeing?
Yeah, I saw you. I was like, I've never seen anyone do that.
Yeah.
You were using,
good idea.
Yeah, but I mean, that's a lot of carbs. But,
oh yeah. I was ready.
And you actually had some more before you came to studio today.
I did. Yeah, we ate the rest.
Yeah.
Yeah, before I showed up.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
So you know what? You got to be able to throw it out in the kitchen too. And we'll talk about that another time about our culinary skills there.
Yeah.
Good or bad or indifferent.
Yeah.
But find something. Get out there, get onto something and hold on to it. And if it's not your cup of tea, like I always say, don't sip it. So if you're not digging that, try something else. But listen, everyone needs to find a way to get active.
Yeah.
I don't care how you do it, but find something that's fun for you that keeps you active. Look, the body is meant to move, man. We have all, the way that we were built to move when we were created.
Yeah.
We were built to like move around and hunt and gather and stay active. If we weren't, we'd just be a circular, like a penguin, like a glob, just to get from point, with maybe these little feet to get from point A to point B. We wouldn't have the build that we have.
Yeah.
We're built to move. So get moving in whatever shape that takes, whatever form that takes.
Yep.
What's your 2 cents?
Same thing, man. Just get moving, get active, and remain excited. Once you find something that you are passionate about, just remain excited, push through those mental boundaries that I know a lot of us face. You don't want to go, you're too sore, your ankle hurts. Just get moving.
Yeah, that's right. I don't care what hurts, man. Like, we've come in here with like a leg and a brace and like, I'm just going to box today.
Don't hurt yourself.
Right?
Don't hurt yourself.
Yeah. Don't hurt yourself, but like, don't stop yourself. When I went blind, I was like, my eyes were covered and I just got on the Airdyne. Like, that's all I could do because I couldn't see.
Yeah.
And I had an eye patch it and like a blind, like goggles across my eyes, and I was just on the Airdyne. That's all I was allowed to do.
Yeah.
When your leg was in a boot, like, I'm just going to box today.
I'm just gonna box
okay.
today.
I don't know. I don't know. I just can't. I won't
Mm-hmm.
and can't. I can't and I won't sit still.
Yeah.
Right. And that's just, it keeps things fun.
Yeah.
Jennifer, do you have any change you want to throw on the table? Or in the change cup, or what do we want to call it? You want to drop some?
I know that it's great to find a passion. Like, I don't like just lifting weights, but I love Olympic weightlifting. Mm-hmm. And if you start getting into fitness and you're not excited about it, don't stop trying different things until you find the right thing. So don't start working out and think this is boring. I don't want to do it, so I'm going to stop. Just go on to the next thing.
Right.
Yeah.
And you never know what's going to click with you, right?
Yeah. Even if it's bowling.
Yeah. Shout out to the bowlers.
There's great bowlers.
There are.
Oh,
Like my mom.
Abs on your wrist.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Shout outs to my mom. I love you. You're an amazing bowler, right? I'm sorry you haven't been able to do it lately, but I just, like I said, grew up in bowling alleys, watched my mom bowl, and she has a lot of accolades from bowling.
Yeah.
Because that's being active, as long as you're not drinking a pitcher of beer that every time you go bowling.
Right.
Yeah. You're being active.
Right.
You're being active.
So,
keep moving.
Well, we put in a little bit of overtime today, and we won't charge you guys for that. That's free. Okay.
Free.
So put a little bit of OT.
Yeah.
Put some minutes on it.
I love it.
But you can Venmo, whatever you want to us.
Yeah. Or I think we'll get a Patreon going or something.
Jen, look at
support.
you.
Yeah, she's like, if you want to show some love, that down the line, man, we'll see how the audience responds to everything we're doing here, and then we'll figure out a way to monetize. Yeah. Monetize that love. For the time being, guys, we don't expect any of that. Just listen in, have a good time, and I hope you're enjoying what you're listening to. We don't mind putting a little overtime, and we don't mind putting this together because it's fun for us to do, and we hope you have fun listening to it. Shank, what you want to close with?
Man, y'all have a good night.
Okay, that's and I hope you have a good week, and we will see you next week. All right. So if you're listening to this on a Monday, I hope you have a great week. I hope it picked you up for, at least in a little bit.
Yeah.
And I'll leave, again, on the subject matter. If you don't have something right now, if you don't have an outlet, now I'll go even further. If you don't, I want you to get physical. I want you to get active. But if you don't have an outlet to be active, find an outlet, period. I don't know if that's carpentry or pottery or whatever. Just find something that is going to be some kind of an outlet for you. All right. Especially now, if there's something you always wanted to try, get out there and try it.
Yeah.
All right. All right, guys.
Love
we
y'all.
will see you next week.
Peace.
Love, peace.